For one final time this Thanksgiving week, Lane Tech boys basketball is on the air. The champions look to close out the first week of the IHSA regular season with a 500 record. But in order to do that, they'll have to get past the 1-2 Francis Parker Colonels here at the 5th place game of the 2022 Battle of the Bridge Thanksgiving Tournament. Thanks so much for joining us. My name's Alex Burstein above midcourt here at Lane Tech. It has been a fun week of basketball here at Lane. This is the 7th of 8 games that are going to be played here at Lane this week. The 3rd place game coming up right after this one between Jones and Notre Dame. But first off, the 5th place game should be a fun one. We have two teams that have had some close games, some games that they should have gone the other way probably in their minds, but they just fell short in and they end up competing for 5th place. We start with the visiting Francis Parker Colonels. They're 1-2 on the year, had two pretty good matches to start off the year against DePaul and Notre Dame. Obviously came in as a heavy underdog in those, but this is a Francis Parker team that is led by 3 returning starters. Their captains, including Peyton Pitts, a senior guard who has a lot of college interest, some IU interest, even a Division I offer from Western Illinois, so he's a very strong player to watch tonight. For Lane Tech, they dropped a tough one to start the week against Jones, and then they fell on Wednesday to a very well-performing Niles North team who's playing well over expectations. We'll have more on them later, but 2 tough losses for Lane Tech, but they've still had some bright spots, including the star for this team, Shahid Salibo. He is averaging 18, nearly 19 points per game so far this year, and expecting another big performance out of him tonight against the Colonels, as we will take you down to the court. Just under 3 minutes to go until we get rolling here at Lane Tech on Black Friday 2022. A couple fans still coming into seats. A sparse crowd for this last game of the week for Lane Tech, but still should be some good action on the court. And with that, we will take you through your starting lineups. First, for the visiting Parker Colonels. For some reason, I only wrote down 4 of their starters, but I'm pretty sure I know who the 5th one is, so we will just go with that for now. At guard, the senior number 0, Owen Steppen, coming off an 18-point game against Englewood STEM on Wednesday. He's one of the captains on this team, a returning starter. Very impressive stuff from Steppen this season. Another guard, senior, we talked about him already, number 11, Peyton Pitts. Had 27 points in the regional semifinal last year as a junior. He's been a very good scorer for this team for a long time. He will get another one of these starting guard positions. Number 20, a guard, another senior, Gray Joseph, coming off a 9-point performance against Englewood STEM. He gets the start. Number 32, a sophomore guard, Miles Johnson. He's likely going to possibly be running the point tonight. He's a very impressive player. He gets to start as just a sophomore, the only sophomore on this team, we should mention. And then I'm pretty sure in the final spot is going to be number 23, Caleb David, another guard. We will try to confirm that in a second. As we mentioned, I miswrote down our starters, but David, another one of the senior captains on this squad, was a starter this year and has been a very impressive ball player for this Parker team early on. As for Lane Tech, they're going to be going with their normal starting 5 here tonight. It's been the same starting 5 through the first 4 games of the season now for Lane Tech. They've had mixed success with their starters, but a couple of them have been performing very well early on this season. So we will take you through those here quickly for those of you not familiar with who they are. First off, it's going to be the star of this team, the 6'4" junior shooting guard, number 5, Shahid Salibo, who has been ever so impressive, just as we were expecting this year. He's averaging, like we mentioned, 18.7 points per game. Expect another big performance out of Salibo here tonight. Then next to him in another one of the guard spots, number 10, Jack Tsor, a 6'3" senior guard. Gets the start. He's found some trouble scoring this year, but a very good defender for this team. He gets the start. And then the point guard for this squad, number 11, Lorenzo Aquino. After being held scoreless in the first game of the season, he has responded very well. 10 points against Niles North on Wednesday and a 15-point performance against Legal Prep on Tuesday. So a couple of very impressive games from Aquino. They'll look to keep that going here on this Friday night. And I think we're going to do the national anthem for the first time this week, so we will turn you to that and be back in a second. Don't go anywhere. And with that, we are ready for some action here at Lane Tech on night number 4 of the Battle of the Bridge Thanksgiving Tournament. Starters are going on the court. We read you through them already, but we'll go through them once again. For Francis Parker, it's going to be Owen Steppen, Peyton Pitts, Gray Joseph, Miles Johnson, and apologies, folks, we had the 5th starter wrong. It's actually going to be the junior forward, number 42, Sam Forrest, who brings some size to this squad, who is coached by Jarek McGee in his first year as varsity head coach of this program. However, he's been around the school for a couple of years coaching with their various levels, so he knows this Parker program pretty well. As for Lane Tech, it's going to be number 5, Shahid Salibo, number 10, Jack Tsor, and number 11, Lorenzo Aquino in the 3 main guard spots tonight for Lane Tech. And then Parker Williams, who's kind of a multi-positional player, and Dalton Scantlebury, a junior and a sophomore, round out the starting 5 for this Lane Tech team. Lane Tech is coached by Nick Lagallo, but if you are watching this stream, you more than likely already know that, as it's going to be Lane Tech in their white jerseys going from left to right across the court here on this Friday night. Parker will be in their navy blue uniforms going from right to left, as both teams are just going to talk things over one last time near their benches, and then we will be ready for first tip here at Lane Gymnasium. Both the teams enter tonight's contest with a 1-2 record, so mixed results early on. They did have some tough contests, especially Parker. They lost to Notre Dame by 12 the first night. That's a game they definitely wish they could have back. Coach McGee was saying they were up by 7 after the first quarter. They even led by 1 at the halftime. Kept it to a 2-3 possession game the entire second half, but just were not able to pull that one off. Then the rougher loss to DePaul College Prep 65-32 on night number 2 of the season, but then they were able to get their first win on Wednesday. For Lane Tech, it was losses to Jones and Niles North on night 1 and 3, but they did get in the win column on Tuesday, defeating the Legal Prep basketball team by a pretty wide margin. As the ball is up and we're underway, Lane Tech wins the tip for the 3rd time this season. They'll send this one out to Parker Williams, who hits a 3, and that's a beautiful start for the Lane Tech offense here in this 5th place game. 4 games going on tonight in the Battle of the Bridge Thanksgiving Tournament to determine who will take home the positions 1 through 8. The 7th place game going on right now at DePaul, and then the championship game will be there later tonight as Pitts throws up his first shot of the night. This one is off the mark. Salibo will get things in transition on the other side of things. Salibo averaging nearly 19 a game, but he has a turnover here early on. It'll be Steppen in transition. He goes coast to coast, and a charge is going to be called. Parker Williams, who's now all over the court offensively and defensively for this squad, will take the charge, and more importantly for Lane Tech, they get one of these top Parker players with an early foul just 45 seconds into the first quarter here at Lane Gymnasium. Lorenzo Aquino running the point here to start things off for Lane Tech. He gets it to Salibo. It's like a man-to-man defense coming out of the gates. Nice job there by Force Scantlebury to punch it out. Williams with his first miss of the night. And now it'll be Parker once again looking to tie things up here at Lane Tech. With the ball right now, that's Miles Johnson. We mentioned in our pregame, he's the only sophomore on this team, but he's very impressive getting the start. This is a very senior-heavy team. Coach Jarek McGee said an unprecedented 14 seniors on this squad, but because of that, there's a lot of varsity experience on this team. It's going to be interesting to see what this Parker team can do this year, as Pitts gets trapped up there by Scantlebury and is forced to give it out to his teammate Joseph here. 6:10 to go, quarter number 1 of action. Pitts with it once again. The whole offense expected to run through him and Steppen here tonight as he takes Salibo to the net, misses, but grabbing the ball and getting fouled there is Sam Forrest, and the junior forward will head to the line to look to get the first points of the night here for the Colonels. 5:59 to go here in quarter number 1 of action. The lone scoring so far, a 3 from Parker Williams on the first possession of the game as this one rattles around the rim and out. Forrest, the two-sport athlete, also does some shot put for the Parker track and field team. And goes 1 for 2 from the line here to get Parker on the scoreboard here. 3-1, under 6 to play in the first quarter. Jack Soar will bring things up for this Champions team. And throws it right into the hands of one of these Parker's players, going coast to coast. Unable to finish there is Steppen. Now they'll put Scantlebury in possession, who lays down the jam, one of his first dunks of the year, and Lane Tech puts their lead up 2-1. This is a Lane Tech team that has a lot of really electric players, a lot of players who can dunk it on the court. Scantlebury, Salibo, they've had some fun dunks this year. On the bench, players like Bartolai. Can expect a lot of exclamation mark plays out of this team this year, as Pitts in the left post goes up, and a beautiful move over Scantlebury there. The course of this game really could come down to how Pitts and Steppen play, as this one flies off the hands of Williams, and it's going to be Colonel's ball. Trail by 2 here. They've trailed the entire night as Lane Tech hit a 3 to start off the game. They would love to tie it or take the lead for the first time here, as Pitts with a deep 3. That would give them the lead, but it's off the mark. Rebounded, though, quickly by Joseph. Joseph tries driving in on Salibo. No substitutions yet into the game, as taking it to the basket, missing again on the layup there was Steppen. So a couple of rare misses from the senior captain, but Williams turns it over in possession. Possession's killing a couple of nice scoring opportunities for Lane Tech here early on. Pitts takes it to the net, tries for a semi-reverse layup, can't get to go. Joseph on the rebound, but Jack Soar comes up with it. Defensive battle here early on as the Colonels get it back, fighting on the ground. That will be a jump ball possession arrow pointing towards Parker. Nearly halfway through the first quarter, we've only seen 8 points scored. Both these teams have not really been involved in any low-scoring contests yet this year. There have been a couple in this Battle of the Bridge Thanksgiving tournament, but none of the games involving involving Francis Parker or Lane Tech. As Jack scores, screened to the right. Pitts is going to keep the ball. Had an opportunity for a 3 there. Instead decides to drive left-hand side. Can't finish with a 2. Scantlebury with a nice rebound, and they will send Williams in transition. He pushes it out to Aquino for his first points of the night. Money from Lorenzo Aquino. And a foul is going to be called here. It looks like against Scantlebury. Believe the points should count. And let's see what the call is here from the referees. So it's going to be 3-point will count, but Lane Tech back in front by 5. However, Scantlebury does get a foul added to his total, so that's his first of the night, the team's second. And either way, Francis Parker will have possession. As Steppen takes things off the court, gives it to Frost here, as Salibo gets it in transition, jams it down. Second dunk of the night here for Lane Tech, who get to the double-digit mark. And that is 2 electric plays here early on, both from Scantlebury and Salibo, as McGee's going to call the first timeout of the night for the Colonels. Not exactly the start you want if you are Parker. They threw that right into the hands of Johnson there, and he kind of got it ripped away from Salibo, who takes it in stride. And when Salibo sees open court in front of him, you are usually going to get a fun dunking play, and that is exactly what happens here as we reach the 3.5-minute mark to go here in the first quarter. Lane's had one blowout victory this year. That was against the Legal Prep squad. 77-48 was the final in that one. Obviously, too early to tell if this is going to be a true blowout, but Lane Tech looking like there's a possibility of that as they lead by 7 halfway through this first quarter of play. Both teams meeting at their benches. As we mentioned, we have seen no substitutions yet. However, it looks like Braden Rosencrantz just checked into the game. Andrew Bartoli. So Lane Tech goes with 2 subs. They sub out Aquino and Jack Zor, and now the 5 on the court for them will be Braden Rosencrantz, Drew Bartoli to go along with Scantlebury, Solibo, and Williams. As for this Parker team, Evan Sato is going to come into the game. Not sure who he checked in for. It looks like he checked in for Johnson, so they send another senior into the mix as he gets his first touch of the night right now. Nice defense from Williams. He has it in transition and gets fouled heading towards the basket. Head coach Nick Wagamo very happy with the effort there from Williams. They're going to call it on the ground, but either way, Lane Tech will keep possession. It's been some very impressive play from Williams early on this year as Q Stauber will check into the game, the junior forward. Williams second on the team in scoring right now of 11 points per game. As he loses the basketball here, gives it out to Rosencrantz, who drains a 3. Rosencrantz had a very impressive first night of the regular season. Scored 8 points. He was shut out the last 2 nights. Did not score against Legal, Prep, or Niles North, but he's back in the scoring column here tonight with a beautiful 3. And Lane Tech with their first double-digit lead of the night. Step in trying to dance around a very aggressive Rosencrantz on defense here. We'll give it out to Pitts. He throws it out to his teammate. Step in, misses the 3, gets his own rebound, and Scantlebury with his first block of the night. Solibo there fighting for the rebound, but the Lane Tech bench very happy with that play from Scantlebury. And overall, just some very impressive play from Lane Tech early on. This is definitely the most all-around performance we have seen from them. Jack Hughes will check into the game alongside Akeem Griffin for this Parker squad. They head in for Steppen as well as Joseph. Inbound goes into Griffin, and a travel's going to be called. It's definitely the most aggressive we have seen the defense out of Lane Tech this year so far, and it's caused a lot of turnovers and also some travels like that. That's our first travel night, but some errors from the Parker defense at offense as Solibo drives in, gets fouled en route to the basket, and we will see the junior head to the line looking for his first free throws of the night. He's been a pretty consistent free throw shooter the last 3 years. He's been a part of this Lane Tech varsity squad. We'll have 2 subs come into the game soon and for Lane Tech in the form of Jackson Labcon and Dylan Pepper. Scantlebury is going to head to the trainer, actually, and Pepper will check into the game before the first free throw. And now they'll send all the subs in. So Steppen comes back into the game, Labcon comes into the game, and now the referees might tell them they have to wait. So a little bit of a miscommunication here on when the subs are going to go in, and now they're going to do it. So Labcon will come in for Williams. Steppen will come in for the Colonels. And Lane Tech, after a quiet first 4 minutes of substituting players, now has gone through a lot of their bench these last couple of minutes, as first free throw will be missed here from Solibo. 2 points so far on the night for the junior as Lane Tech jumps out to an early 10-point lead here in the 5th place game at the Battle of the Bridge Thanksgiving Tournament. Solibo with his second shot, this one up and good. Put the lead up to 11. Lane Tech will have finally a true restful days the next 5 days or so before they get back in action next Wednesday against Bulls College Prep. Aggressive defense here from Bartoli, almost picked off there by Pepper. Instead, they will say a foul called there as he bumped into Jack Hughes, the senior forward. And Hughes will inbound things on the other side of the court. This is actually Hughes, probably the worst of his 2 sports. He's a very, very good baseball player. Plays actually with a couple of the Lane Tech baseball players with travel ball. He's an impressive ball player and then also a decent basketball player as well as Pitts fires up the 3. And Lane has done a very good job guarding Pitts here early tonight. They've held him to just 2 points. He has 2 of the 3. Bartoli driving in and finding his way somehow on top of his back was Owen Steppen. foul is going to be called. We'll see if they call that on the ground or not. They are going to say it's on the ground, and they will inbound it as Kenny Rosario readies to inbound to come into the game in a second for the champions. Now they tell him to hold off as Bartoli will inbound things. But going back to what we were saying about Pitts, as the quick 2 miss there by Rosenkrantz. Lane has done not a great job the first 3 nights of the season of shutting out the top scorers. We saw night 1, Ethan Samuels ran the offense, was scoring all the points for Jones. On Wednesday night, the top 2 scorers, Reed Olson and Irby, were the leading scorers for Niles North. And the question mark was, does Lane Tech have the defensive capabilities to shut out a top scorer and compete in these games? And although it's very early, they've done a very good job of defending Pitts. You see him right there have to pass it off because of some defense from Solibo. As I say that, he gets in the and one. But overall, that's going to be the key heading into these next couple of weeks, seeing how this Lane Tech defense can adjust to top scores like we have tonight in Peyton Pitts, who will head to the line for the first time tonight, the senior guard. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Tech. Kenny Rosario will check into the game for Solibo, who takes a seat on the bench with 3 points right now. So it'll be Rosario, Bartoli, Pepper, Rosenkrantz, and Labcon on the court right now. 4 sophomores and a junior, all who made their varsity debuts earlier this week. And this game, if Lane Tech's able to keep up this offensive pace, could be a very good chance for Lane Tech to get these sophomores a lot of playing time, get them comfortable to this varsity pace before they get into the true regular season next week. Obviously, all these games count as part of the Thanksgiving tournament, but the true grind of just a regular season schedule getting started next week. As the foul's going to be called on Rosario right after he comes into the, on Labcon. Looked like Rosario was closer to the play, but the referees will give the foul to Labcon, his first of the night, the team's 5th. We've had 9 fouls called in this first quarter. Referees being pretty strict with what's allowed and what's not allowed here early on at Lane Tech. And now we're going to see an offensive foul called on Pitts. Oh, no, it's called on Hughes. Pitts was on the ball, but either way, that is going to be another foul. And now, just as we were talking about the fouls, that's going to be 10 team fouls combined between these two squads through the first 7 minutes of play. Bartoli gets it on the far side, gives it to Labcon. They swing it to Rosario. Wide open 3 off the mark, and fighting for the rebound. Pitts comes up with it for the Colonels. 14-6, 45 seconds to play here in quarter number 1. Pitts driving to the basket, count it, 2nd and 1 of the game. He's up to 7 now in the first quarter to lead all scorers in the game. He scored 7 of the 8 for Parker, and Trevor Goodhart will check into the game for Labcon after he draws his 2nd foul of the game. So we have 2 for Labcon and 2 for Pepper in the first quarter. That's about the only foul trouble Lane is in right now. As you see Pitts complete the 3-point play, and just like that, it's a 5-point game here, 14-9 at Lane Gymnasium. Rosenkrantz able to get past the press, goes all the way to the hoop and finishes. It doesn't finish, but gets fouled, and he'll have the chance to get 2 quick points. What Rosenkrantz lacks in speed, he has made up for this season in some very good shooting abilities. He can really shoot lights out from beyond the arc, but he's also just so quick and great ball handling. And we saw that as he was able to just get to the basket past about 5 Parker players en route, and he will make the first of his 2 free throws to put Lane back up by 6, and a little bit of a scoring drought there. He might lead all Lane Tech scorers actually right now with 4 points, and will make it 5 on the 2nd free throw, a 2-for-2 trip. And we will see Johnson check into the game here for Stauber. So a lot of substituting for this Parker team, who lists, I believe it's 19 players on their roster. Trying to count that up quickly. It's definitely the biggest roster, maybe tied with Niles North, that Lane Tech has faced off against here today. as a foul here called against Rosario, his first of the game, and that is going to be the 7th team foul called against Lane Tech. So with 30 seconds left in the first quarter, we are already in the bonus here. And you have the top shooter, Pitts, missing a free throw. We've had the announcer jinx a couple times already here tonight from the free throw line, but he will be able to rebound it, and they will look to hold for a final shot here. 20 seconds. Pitts being guarded by Rosenkrantz. He's done a great job disrupting the flow of this game, and he gets a steal. Now Pitts gets it right back to the basket and misses the two. Steppen with the rebound. He puts it up with 7 seconds. Parker cuts it to a 5-point game. Rosenkrantz to an open Goodhart with 2 seconds. Fires up a 3. Can't get it to go. No foul called there, and that will bring us to the end of the first quarter. So a hectic last 45 seconds or so, but either way, it'll end with a 5-point lead for the champions, 16-11 here against Parker. We'll be back in just a second. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Lane Tech basketball here on Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. To quarter number 2 we go here at Lane Tech. Lane's going to return to their starting 5, who had so much success through the first couple of minutes as we get going here in quarter number 2 of action. That will be Aquino, Tsor, Williams, Scantlebury, and Salibo. And it looks like it's going to be the same story for Parker. They go with their starting 5 as well here to start off the second quarter as Scantlebury pushes out to Aquino. He's hit one of these already, make it 2. Second made 3 of the night for Lorenzo Aquino to put Lane back up by 8 here early in the second quarter. They would love to get a couple more shots up like that, get it back to a double-digit lead. As Joseph loses the basketball, but Steppen does a good job of getting it back. Now Jack Tsor finds Salibo in open space. Aquino got down the court quickly and will finish with the 2. 5 very quick points for the senior here out of the gate. Puts the champions back up by 10. Step back move from Pitts. That's off the mark. Seems like he's been rushing his shots here early on. In transition, Williams gets it, and back-to-back fast break points here by Lane Tech. Puts them up by 12 points. Calling their second timeout of the night. A 30-second timeout is going to be Parker. You only get 5 timeouts across the course of the game, so just 9 minutes into this 32-minute contest, we've already seen 40% of the timeouts called by Parker, but they desperately need to talk things over after giving up 4 very quick points to start off this quarter number 2 of play. And this is something you should really be happy to see if you're the Lane Tech fans. Seeing your starting 5, and Lane usually does not change up their starting 5 much across the season, but seeing Salibo, Scantlebury, Williams, Tsor, and Aquino play in a rhythm like this is a very good sign for Lane as they head into week 2 and beyond of this regular season. You can have a starting 5 who are defending well, shooting well, and get you some early leads. That's going to be very helpful for this champions team moving on. Hugh Stauber will check into the game for the Colonels here out of the gate to start off, or not to start off, but a minute into the second quarter. Nice defense forces Steppen to pass it off. Lane's done a very good job of limiting Steppen offensively. He's coming off an 18-point performance. Pitts to the net, gets fouled from behind. That will be the 8th team foul on Lane Tech. They are already in the bonus, so that won't change anything, but it was a shooting foul, so Pitts will get 2 shots instead of a 1-and-1 here. This is his 3rd trip to the line tonight. Actually, the 4th trip. He's had 2 1-and-1s, and then he had 1 just because of the bonus here, and now this is going to be his first time shooting a guaranteed 2. As he makes the first, he's up to 9 points here tonight to lead all scores. Lorenzo Aquino leads Lane with 8. And the second shot is up, and that one off the mark. So we will keep it at an 11-point lead here at Lane Tech. 5th place game for the Battle of the Bridge Thanksgiving Tournament. Lane Tech and Parker. Battle of two teams looking to get to 500 here to close out the first week of play. Lorenzo Aquino in the corner gets the pass, gives it to Salibo. Under 6.5 now to play. Jack Soar looking for his first points of the night. Off the mark, Scancelbury loses the rebound into the hands of Johnson, who will push things in pace for the Colonels. Give it back to Johnson. We saw 1 or 2 airs out of the sophomore, but he can redeem himself here. Misses the 3. And Salibo will bring things off the court. Scancelbury wide open. He's going to go up for the 2 and get it to go. It was a quiet night on Wednesday for Scancelbury. He just had 4 points in the loss. He's already matched that total with 4 here early in the second quarter. 5:50 to go, quarter number 2. Lane on pace to possibly have their highest scoring game of the season as Pitts misses another shot. Currently, their highest is 77. They scored that against Legal Prep on Tuesday. Now Williams down low to Scancelbury and just can't make back-to-back baskets there. A couple of inches off. Now Soar to Salibo in transition. Gives it up to Scancelbury, who can't finish the alley-oop but can finish the baskets. Not getting fancy with it, but points are points here for Lane Tech. They go up by 15-6 for Scancelbury here. And we continue to see these rush shots by Pitts. I think he's beginning to see Lane Tech pulling away, wants to get some quick points. They're going to try another lob off the court, this time not successful for Lane. And once again, it's going to be Pitts driving. Seems like right now they have about 1 play in the playbook for Parker. That is give the ball to Peyton Pitts, have him drive in and try to score. This time he is able to score. We'll go to a 13-point lead here. 4:40 to go in quarter number 2. Scancelbury out to Jack Soar. Second 3 attempt of the night is off the mark. Aquino gives it out to Williams, who will reset things. 4.5 to play. Williams had that early 3, has not scored since. Or excuse me, he had 1-2 since, so he has 5 points on the night. And they're going to say it goes off of one of the Lane Tech players, and Lane Tech will go with a full court press for the first time tonight as we see Jack Hughes check into the game. All these recent possessions from this Parker team have been kind of rushed. They're going with a very fast-paced offense, but because of that, we've seen a lot of turnovers and misses from them as Williams will punch this out of bounds, and they'll get a second chance to inbound it closer to their scoring basket. See if they try to slow down their offense here with just over 4 minutes to go in the second quarter of play. Pitts being guarded by Williams. Nice move to the basket. Can't finish. Rebounded by Jack Soar. Lane's going to have some high team rebounding numbers here tonight. Williams gives it in the corner to Salibo. Aquino was open there, but instead they send it inside to Williams, who gets the give-and-go score. Some beautiful basketball there from Lane Tech to go back up by 15, 29-14. As a foul called on Salibo. That is going to be his first of the night, the 9th of the half for Lane Tech. And that's going to send Parker back to the free throw line. If they want to get back into this game, they very well may be able to do it just from the free throw line if Lane Tech keeps up these fouling numbers. Pitts having a quick word with the coaches on the other side of the court as he has had a rough night shooting. He has 11 points, but very well could have more than that. As the front end of a 1-and-1 is missed. Next foul will send Parker into double bonus as Parker Williams gets it. He's going to drive in out to Jack Soar. Aquino almost got it. Nice defensive effort there by Pitts. And Braden Rosenkrantz will check into the game for Scancelbury there. Very interesting substitution there. They put in a point guard for the number 5. So Lane going with a smaller lineup here with 3.5 to play in quarter number 2. Salibo splits the middle out to Aquino. A nice closeout defense. Hands it off to Salibo underneath the basket, and a nice fake there by Salibo, sells the defender, and now he will finish with the 2 to put Lane up by 17, their largest lead of the night. As Steppen, unable to get 2 hands on this one, pushes it out of bounds, and this very well could be the confidence-boosting win that Lane Tech needed this first week. They had the win against Legal Prep. That was more expected. This is a Parker team that has a lot of talented players. They're in for what should be a somewhat strong season in the Independent School League. But Lane has done a good job picking them apart both offensively and defensively here through the first quarter and a half of play, as Aquino will get double teams. Sends it out to Rosenkrantz. Now Rosenkrantz dribbles around through a couple defenders out to Aquino. It's like this Parker team may have switched to a 3-2 zone here. They have their defenders dancing all around. It is working though. They get into Williams. Aquino for 3 and money. His 3rd of the night. 9 points for Lorenzo Aquino. And Lane Tech goes up by 20 here in the second quarter. Pitts will finally slow down this offense for Parker, something we've been saying they might need to do for the last 3 or 4 minutes. Get it top of the key here to Sato, who's back into the game. And they reverse it back to Pitts. Been very reliant on their senior star here tonight. Williams locking him up defensively. They send it out, driving right-hand side, and just missing the 2 there is Lucas Daskell into the game for Parker. On the other side of things, Aquino with an open lane gives it out to Williams. Salibo sees an open 3 and gets it on a lucky bounce. That one bounced straight backwards after hitting the front of the rim. And now Lane will go up by 23. Under 2 to play in this second quarter here in the Battle of the Bridge Thanksgiving Tournament 5th place game. Very impressive performance from Lane tonight. Pitts trying to silence that, he won't. And this lack of scoring from Parker has really let Lane Tech have total momentum throughout this entire second quarter, basically. So a foul was called there on Parker. That's going to be their 7th. It should be 1-1 here, and it will be. Salibo will head to the line to shoot for the 2nd time tonight. Drew Bartoli checks into the game for Jack Soar. Salibo with 8 points so far tonight. That's 2nd on the team behind Aquino, who has 11. We were missing a 2 earlier. He has 9 off of 3s, but 11 points total. 11 tied for the game high for either team, as Salibo makes the front end of a 1-1 and earns himself a 2nd shot. Lane up by 24 points now. They've just taken complete control these last couple of minutes. Williams, Aquino, Rosenkrantz, Bartoli, and Salibo, your 5 on the court for the champions, as 2nd shot is up and good as well. Steppen's been quiet scoring-wise here tonight. Misses the layup there. He's been held scoreless. And they're going to call another foul, it looks like, here against Lane Tech. They might just say it went out of bounds because no one's going to be shooting. So it will be Parker possession underneath their scoring basket. They get out to Pitts. Rosenkrantz, despite the height advantage, went up there to try to push it away. Pitts with a nice move to the basket and finishes with the spin move score. Pitts played this summer with Mac Irvin Fire, which is one of the top travel teams in the Chicagoland area, as Joseph here gets the steal under a minute to play. Down low to Pitts, and Pitts has 5 points in a couple of minutes. As we said, if Parker wants to come back in this one, it very well could depend on the play of Peyton Pitts, and he has 5 points here late in the second quarter of play to cut it to a 21-point deficit. And a foul's going to be called on Gray Joseph, his 2nd, the team's 8th. And now will be Williams' turn to shoot a 1-1. Salibo scored both in the first trip to the line because of the bonus for Lane Tech this quarter. Just under 45 seconds to go in the quarter, so Parker realistically could probably hold for a final shot. Williams makes the first shot with ease. Williams has just been so impressive for this team. Started off kind of slow with 8 points against Jones, but had 11 against Legal Prep, 14 against Niles North. He's already at 8 here tonight, and can make it 9 with this free throw, and he will. Second leading scorer on this team, and Legal Prep will get it back with 40 seconds and counting to go in quarter number 2. Steppen drives in. Salibo came in on him hard. It's going to be the second foul of the night on Salibo, 10th of the half on the Champions. And now it's going to be double bonus as Labcon's going to check in for Salibo after the first free throw to try to avoid getting him in any more foul trouble. We usually don't see Salibo take 2 trips to the bench in one half of play, as first free throw missed here from Steppen, but with the fouls, he is going to head to the bench here. So it'll be Labcon, Aquino, Rosenkrantz, Williams, and Bartoli are 5 on the court. A lot of three-point shooters for Lane Tech to end this second quarter of play. Steppen finally gets on the scoreboard there. And Lane will try to hold for one final shot with 30 seconds left. They've run drills in practice preparing for these type of situations. They get down low to Williams, and actually they're not going to wait. Interesting move there by Lane Tech. They push the pace with 30 seconds left, already up so big. Steppen on the other side, he doesn't wait as well. And after gaining his first point of the night off a free throw, follows it up with 2 more. Labcon throws this one out of bounds. Possession goes to Parker. Labcon actually, I think, purposely may have thrown that off of Pitts. And somehow the referees are going to say it is Parker basketball. So the Colonels get a little gift here, and they will have the chance to cut it to less than a 20-point lead here late in the second quarter. 5.4 seconds to go. They inbound it to Pitts. Rosenkrantz guarding him. 4 seconds on the clock. He loses the basketball. Passes out to Johnson with a long 3. That was in and out. Would have been a very nice 3 there. But it won't fall, and that will bring us to the end of 2 quarters of play. 43-21. The halftime lead for Lane Tech over this Francis Parker squad. So very impressive performance from Lane. That's the most they've had in a half this season, I want to say. They've had some good performances so far this year, but this one definitely the most dominant as we welcome you above midcourt here at Lane Tech. If you're a Lane Tech fan, you should be very happy watching this game. This is a Parker team that has some very impressive players. I believe they are without Caleb David. He's one of the stars on this team. We've not seen him come into the game yet, and I'm starting to wonder if he's just not here or if he's injured. So that is one thing we should mention, but they are still with Pitts. They are still with Steppen, and while Pitts has been scoring a lot, Steppen held to just 3 points through the first 2 quarters. He's coming off an 18-point performance on Wednesday, and Lane Tech's defense finally doing what we have wanted them to do all season long in the 4th game of the year. This is the 5th place game at the Battle of the Bridge Thanksgiving Tournament. I've not seen any scores yet from the other game. The 7th place game started at 4:30 at the Paul, so that one's probably wrapping up kind of soon. We will take you through all those matchups later in our halftime break, but just overall a great first 2 quarters from Lane Tech. Some of the leading scorers, the 2 leading scorers for Lane Tech is going to be Lorenzo Aquino and Parker Williams. They have 11 apiece, but those 2 just combined for 22. It shows you this has been a very balanced scoring effort for Lane Tech. They have 43 points. I'm not sure how many total scores they've had, but it's been a lot for the Champions. That has been a big part to them having a 22-point lead heading into the halftime break. We will take you back down to the court here. 8.5 minutes to go. So we get ready for some second half action. We're going to take a quick break here at Lane Gymnasium and be back in a second with your first half stats, second half preview, and more here at Lane Gymnasium. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Lane Tech Basketball here on the Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. halftime here at Lane Tech, 43-21. The champions with a big lead over the Francis Parker Colonels here on the final night of the Battle of the Bridge Thanksgiving Tournament. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Tech. So we're going to take you through the scoring through the first two quarters for both of these squads, starting with the Colonels. And the scoring has mostly been concentrated on number 11, Peyton Pitts. He has 15 of the 21 points so far tonight. A very impressive performance for the senior guard. And then the other points so far, 5 from Owen Steppen, 2 from Gray Joseph, and 1 from Sam Forrest. That's going to round out the scoring for Parker here. To start off this third quarter of play, as for Lane Tech, a little bit more of a balanced scoring effort. 9 from Shahid Solibo, 11 from Lorenzo Aquino, 5 from Braden Rosenkrantz, 11 from Parker Williams, and 6 from Dalton Scantlebury. So 6 first half scores here for the, 5 first half scores here for the champions as they take a 22-point lead into the break. It's a 40-point lead for a running clock, so we're not quite at that distance yet. However, if Lane Tech keeps that up, would not put it out of the picture. The champions would love to have a quick second half to close out this Black Friday of basketball. Coming up after this game is going to be the third place game here at Lane Tech. Notre Dame facing off against Jones. That's set for a 7 p.m. tip-off here at Lane Tech. 5:45 right now here at Lane Gymnasium, so that one should be able to start on time despite all of the fouls that we saw through this first half. I think it must have been 19 or 20 combined fouls between the two teams. The referees not letting a lot of contact happen between the two teams, but they learned how to play with it. By the last 4 or 5 minutes, we did not see as many fouls being called. However, at that point, both the teams were in bonus, so every single foul was leading to free throws, which led to a slightly longer first half than usual here at Lane Gymnasium. We'll take you around the conference now here in the Red Northwest. A busy day of basketball for Chicago Public League teams as we see a lot of the Thanksgiving tournaments either in their last day or second to last day of competitions. Jefferson was taking on Perspectives MSA. That was a 9:30 a.m. game. I've not seen a final score from that one, but that one is over by now. Ladin facing off against Orr at 2 p.m. That's actually the same conference matchup as we see here. The Chicago Public Red Northwest with Orr and the Independent School League with Ladin. That was a 2 p.m. first tip. Not seen any score from that as well. Harlem getting underway against Clark at 6:30 p.m. So that's getting underway in about 45 minutes from now. Westinghouse took her on East Aurora at 4 p.m. Farragut traveled up to Harriman Tech, which I'm pretty sure is in Indiana, at 7 p.m. And then we do have 2 final scores already from the Red Northwest teams here today, that being Lincoln Park with a 64-45 win over Moss Point from Missouri. They've been up at that very competitive Washington tournament this week, and Lincoln Park got their first win of the season with that one. And then Prosser fell for the 4th time this week to Peyton. That was a 63-60 final. So a rough start to the year for Prosser. They had a lot of talent last year. I have not done a deep dive into their team, but I'm guessing most of it graduated. So it'll be an interesting rebuilding year here for Prosser as they enter this conference as one of the 2 teams that were promoted to the Red Northwest here for the 2022-2023 season. So we see the Notre Dame team entering Lane Gymnasium right now. They, as we mentioned, will be playing in just over an hour's time for 3rd place here at the Battle of the Bridge Thanksgiving Tournament. But for now, still 32 minutes to play of action at this 5th place game. Just over a minute to go in the halftime break. Taking you down the standings right now at the Red Northwest. Perspectives MSA leads the conference entering today of a 1-0 record. Whitney Young 2-1, and I believe they are off for the next week before the Chicago League Classic next Friday. Then they have Orr at 2-1, North Lawndale 1-1, Clark is yet to play a game. They have their first one today against Harlem. And then Lane 1-2, Farragut 0-1, Lincoln Park 1-3, and Prosser 0-4. So some mixed results through the first week of the season for the conference before all these teams start battling against each other. In about a week and a half's time, we'll have our first conference game coming up a week from Wednesday, as Lane Tech will host Prosser, I want to say. I have this written down somewhere. Yes, they're going to host Prosser on the 7th, and then 2 days later we'll play the Perspectives teams. Both of those games are at home here at Lane Gymnasium. As we'll see, the starting five is going to start off the second half as well here for the Parker Colonels. So that is going to be Steppen, Pitts, Joseph, Johnson, and Forrest. Those will be your five for the Colonels, going from right to left to start off this third quarter. As for Lane Tech, they're rolling with Scantlebury, Williams, Salibo, Jack Tsor, and Lorenzo Aquino for their five. They'll be going from left to right, and those five actually had a very good couple of possessions to start off both the first and the second quarter when all five of them were in together. So Lane Tech has seen some good stuff out of their starting five here. And I apologize, it's actually going to be Lane Tech going from left to right. Parker will be going from left to right here. As we start off the third quarter of play, they inbound it to Salibo, and we are underway. 16 minutes left of Thanksgiving basketball here for Lane Tech. Had a busy week. This is their fourth game in 5 days, as Williams puts up a three off the mark. Scantlebury going for it, and an unnecessary dive at it by Max Forrest. I think it would have ended up being Parker ball as it went off of Scantlebury's hands. However, Forrest dived for it and threw it right onto the baseline and ends up going back to Lane Tech. Williams gets blocked there by Forrest, and won't matter as Parker gets possession back, trying to cut into this 22-point lead, and it's largely going to be based off of how well Peyton Pitts can play right now. He had 15 in the first half. Steppen gets locked up here by Aquino, and Pitts ends up with the ball. And a foul's going to be called on Scantlebury, and the foul trouble continues for Lane Tech. 10 fouls in the first half, and now this will be the 11th of the night. That is the second on Dalton Scantlebury. No one in foul trouble. I'm not sure anyone has more than two, but just as a team, Lane has put up a lot of fouls here through the first 17 minutes of play. Steppen gets the ball in transition. Salibo gets it right back, and he will finish with the layup. Almost went with a big dunk there. Instead, plays it safe and gets Lane Tech on the board for the first time this second half. A couple of times tonight we've seen when one team turns it over and then the other team turns it right back to them. Some sloppy basketball still here at the end of the first week of the season as the players get used to each other. Steppen gets on the board for the third time tonight. He's up to 5 points, which is actually the, I want to say, second highest on the team. Yeah, that's the second highest total on the team here tonight for Parker. They just have not had a lot of scoring outside of Pitts here early on. Second foul called there on Joseph. Salibo gives it to Aquino. And if you're Lane Tech, really no need to rush your possessions here. You can take some time off the clock, or you can turn it over like that. Pitts in transition, trying to get past Jack Tsor, goes right into Aquino, and a blocking foul called there. And Pitts will head to the line to shoot two, so 2 fouls already. And I didn't see the ball go in. The scoreboard added up by 2, and I guess it did. So my bad, folks. That was actually an and one there by Pitts. He goes up to 17 points and makes it as well. So 3-point play converted there by Pitts, and just like that is back to under a 20-point game. 19 points to lead for Lane Tech over the Colonels here. Scantlebury gets it to Tsor inside the Williams. Now out to Scantlebury. He pulls for 3 and off the mark. He's had a couple of those nice long shots already here tonight for the champions. Can't put that one in, though. Johnson misses the 3, rebounded by Scantlebury. We'll have to see later what the rebound numbers end up being. I'm assuming Scantlebury leading the team. He might be close to getting a double-double tonight, already with 6 points on the night. So he gets the ball inside the paint here and gets fouled. So now 2 fouls apiece for each of these teams, just over 2 minutes into this third quarter. Lorenzo Aquino will inbound things underneath the scoring basket, goes directly to Salibo, who has the easy two. Lane's found some easy ways to score baskets here tonight. They've gotten fancy a couple dunks and whatnot and a couple of threes, but they've just been playing simple basketball here tonight, finding the open guy and scoring off of it as Pitts misses the three. On the rebound is forced. He can't put it up, and jump ball is going to be called. Nice job there by both Scantlebury and Joseph, who fought for the rebound, and possession arrow will point towards the Colonels. So it'll be Johnson, the sophomore, inbounding things. Gets it to Pitts, pulls for three in the corner off the mark, rebounded by Salibo. In transition, Aquino is a soft pass there by Salibo, but Aquino still able to hit the two. Continuing his strong night, he now has 13. Second on the team behind Salibo, who has 14 to go along for 11 from Williams, and finishing with the and one there is Steppen. Galbo not happy with that from his team, and I don't think any coach would be happy with the number of fouls that Lane Tech has put forward tonight. That's going to be the third on Scantlebury. I imagine he might be coming out of the game soon, but overall 13 fouls through 19 minutes of gameplay here on this Friday night for Lane Tech as Steppen completes the three-point play. As we move to 49 to 29, 5 minutes exactly on the clock here in the third quarter. A full court press from the Colonels. As they get it back to Williams, we'll see Drew Bartoli check into the game soon. Scantlebury can't finish in the post, and now Steppen has a burst of energy, gives it to Joseph down low, and Jack Soar will draw the charge. That's the second charge taken by Lane Tech defensively here tonight. They've had at least one every single game this season. It's something Lane Tech really likes to see out of their players, and good job by Lane Tech. We saw Williams take one on the first offensive possession of the day for Parker, and Jack Soar takes one in the third quarter here. As Bartoli checks in for Scantlebury, he feeds it to Salibo on his first touch of the quarter. Now Williams drives in left-hand side, had an open Bartoli, instead decides to take it himself and finishes with the two, as Lane Tech goes over the 51-point mark. Pitts, spin move. Jack Soar, some nice in-your-face defense, and I think a foul's going to be called against Parker there. It will, so Jack Soar gets the lucky break there, had some very nice defense, hauled in the rebound, and then a foul called on Parker to put Lane Tech back in possession, trailing by 22. Bartoli can't get two hands on this one. Step in for three off the mark. Someone on the ground, that's Jack Soar. Salibo sends it to Bartoli. This will be a pretty finish, and count the basket. Drew Bartoli finishes, and now we'll see if he can make it a three-point play. We have not seen Lane Tech play in transition like this a lot this season already. However, they've been sending a lot of balls straight up the court here tonight, and they've had some nice finishes because of that. As Bartoli will try to finish, and just off the mark, Williams, though, gets the offensive rebound. So Lane Tech will try to have more than 2 points on this trip up the court. Nice pass down low to Bartoli. He took a step there, no travel called, and instead a jump ball will be called as Lane Tech calls their first timeout of the evening, a 30-second timeout, as head coach Nick Logalvo wants to talk things over with his squad. Just under 4 minutes to go in quarter number 3. Lane Tech, who was up by 22 at the halftime break, has put this lead up to 24 now, 53 to 29. They haven't been really able to break open the lead any more than what we saw in that first half of action. However, they've done a good job of just keeping the lead here. We've seen a lot of energy out of this Parker team, namely from Owen Steppen, who's up to 8 points now after only having 3, I believe, in the first half. But his energy has really come alive and tried to ignite some nice shots out of this Parker team. But just the moral of the story of the night has been shots just not falling for Parker. Some nights are not yours, and that seems to be the case here for the Francis Parker Colonels here as they try to avoid dropping to 1-3 on this season. Their head coach, McGee, knew that this was going to be a rough tournament as Salibo hits the 2. He purposely scheduled a pretty hard non-conference slate this year for his squad, and that started off with this tournament. 3:45 to go. Lane Sack up by 26 here on Parker. Step in, driving in right side, stripped there by Bartoli. They are going to call an offensive foul there. I think it might have been Steppen running into Jack Soar after he lost the ball. And now it's going to be 6 fouls called on the Colonels just 4.5 minutes into the third quarter. So kind of a flipped script from what we saw in quarter number 1 when Lane Sack almost put Parker in the bonus the first few minutes of play. Now it's Parker almost playing Lane Sack into the bonus about halfway through this third quarter. Bartoli on the far side. We don't see him shoot a lot. He mostly just drives in or passes, which is what he does this time. Aquino with nice pump fake and drains the 3. 16 points now on the night for Lorenzo Aquino, who might jump into the lead by the end of this night if leading scorer. He leads Lane Sack tonight in scoring. Also led Lane against Legal Prep with 15 as Bartoli cuts to the basket, can't finish. 58-29. Lane Sack with the lead, under 3 to play here in the third quarter. Steppen goes coast to coast, can't finish though. Salibo fighting for the rebound, but a nice job there by Stauber to punch it out, and finishing with the 3 is going to be Pitts, as we're going to see a 30-second timeout called here by Jarek McGee and this Parker squad. Try to just calm down his team. So they're down to just 2 timeouts left on this game with 10 minutes and 42 seconds of game action yet left. Talking about Aquino right now, he is 16, tied with Salibo. On the season, Aquino is averaging 8.3 points. However, that's slightly skewed because of his scoreless performance the first night. Since night 2 of the season, he's now averaging over 10 points a game. He had 15 against Legal Prep, 10 against Niles North, and now 16 here tonight. And the big 3, I guess you could call it, of him, Salibo, and Williams have combined for 45 points. That's 13 more than the entire Parker squad has scored here tonight in the third quarter. Salibo gets it to Bartoli. Lane Sack with the numbers needed. Bartoli underneath the basket. Pitts backed off of him. I'm not sure why. He only has 2 fouls, but they give Bartoli basically the 3 points there as Lane Sack goes up to 60. Pitts takes it by himself, can't finish. And once again, Lane Sack with a pretty good chance of setting a season high in scoring here tonight. Rosenkrantz driving from the right side. Misses it. Salibo, went off of one of the Parker players, and I think they're going to give it to Lane. Salibo was pointed towards himself. I think he even thought that it was going to be Parker basketball, but it will end up Lane keeping possession here, trying to get to a 30-point lead for the first time tonight. Pino gives it to Salibo. Still some tight defense, who I think we might see another defensive switch. Almost looks like a box 1 here right now from the Colonels. Salibo out to Rosenkrantz, fakes a 3, goes up for a 2, and they're going to call a double dribble. Would have converted on the 3. I didn't see the double dribble there. Looked like he just had a pump fake and then moved the dribble. Lane Sack coaching staff has not been especially happy with the calls they've seen this week in Battle of the Bridge. Tonight there's been a couple of questionable calls as well, but when you're up 28, small calls like that don't matter that much, as they'll send it down low to Steppen. He drives to the basket and finishes with the 2. He's been the player of the half for Parker. He's now up to 10 points total, 7 in this second half. They're able to break the press through Williams, out to Aquino, wide open, another 3. He is automatic. 19 points on the night for Lorenzo Aquino, and he has made every single 3-point attempt he has shot here tonight. Well on his way to a 20-point game. Johnson can't convert the 3, And right now, it's basically if you give Aquino the ball, he makes it. We'll see if he can do it again. Fakes the three, puts it up, finally misses one. It was bound to happen at some point. I think the Lane Tech bench would have exploded had he made that one. And possession will stay with Parker as Jackson Labcon checks into the game for Parker Williams. Seen almost all the players Lane Tech has dressed tonight come into the game as Aquino jumps for the ball, can't get it, step into the basket, misses the two, and somehow makes a much more difficult shot than the one he was originally playing on. It was really just a simple layup. Instead, he has to put it back with one hand, but he's still able to score. 40 seconds now to go. Quarter number 3 of action. Rosenkrantz pushes it out to Aquino, who fakes the three, gives it to Salibo. Looks like the champions may hold for one final shot here in the third. Up by 27 on this experienced Parker team. Night number 4 of the Battle of Bridge Thanksgiving Tournament. Aquino gets it, under 20 now to play. Drives left-hand side, puts up the basket, scores. He goes over 20 on the night. I don't have a career high number for him, but I'm assuming this may in fact be it. As Pitts pushes it out, 3 on its way to end the third quarter. Salibo chucks up a shot for no reason, and that will bring us to the end of the third quarter. So 65-36, Lane Tech putting on an impressive performance against this Parker team. We'll see how they can close it out. 8 more minutes to go on this Thanksgiving week for Lane Tech boys basketball. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Lane Tech boys basketball here on Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. To quarter number 4 we go. Lane Tech playing on the show here tonight to close out the Battle of the Bridge Thanksgiving Tournament. They lead 65-36 over the Parker Colonels here as we close out the 5th place game here at Lane Tech. Looks like a couple of subs into the game for Lane. They're going to break their huddle with Braden Rosenkrantz, Jackson Labcon, Kenny Rosario, Drew Bartoli, and Dylan Pepper here. So Pepper and Rosario both come in here for Lane Tech. As for the Parker Colonels, looks like it's going to be Johnson, Pitts, Jack Hughes, Evan Sato, and I believe Steppen as the 5 on the court for this Colonels team, who are trying to cut a little bit into this deficit. It would be pretty hard for them to fully mount a comeback here, but anything can happen in high school basketball. Lane puts a lot of their top scorers on the bench. Williams out of the game now. Aquino out of the game after his career night, and Salibo also on the bench. Those are the 3 leading scorers tonight for the champions. If Aquino does not come back into the game, 21 points for him. Quite a night for the senior point guard. Johnson on the first possession here of the quarter for Parker. They'll give it to Sato. He puts up a 2 from the free throw line, and shots continuing to just not foul. Rosario is trying to push it in transition to Rosenkrantz. Went off the hands of the defender there, but they are going to be able to keep possession. Steppen's actually going to come out of the game. Draskell as well as Joseph will be in to start off this 4th quarter. And Pitts is also out. So a couple of positional changes here for the Colonels to close out this matchup. Not sure if we'll see any of the stars for either of these teams come in for these last 7 minutes and change of this contest. Bartoli with some nice defense on Joseph. Pepper diving for it on the ground, but goes off of him, and the Colonels will get possession back. Lane Tech will be back in action next Wednesday. They're still here at home. It's going to be almost 2 weeks into the season before Lane Tech plays a true game on the road, and it's actually a neutral site. It's going to be even longer before Lane plays a true road game, as in transition, Joseph puts up the 2, gets it to go. Parker finally back on the scoreboard here with under 7 to play in quarter number 3, and I actually do quarter number 4, and I have the next 5 games, which go until December 10th, and even in that point, Lane Tech will still not have played a true road game as Labcon hits a 3. They have a lot of shootouts this year, which means a lot of neutral site games. Chicago League Classic, the D-Rose shootout, our Team Rose shootout, but because of that, they're going to have to wait a while until they're in a true road game. But back to what we were saying, next Wednesday they will return home to play against Bulls College Prep. It's either a 5 or a 7 p.m. first tip. It's listed on Max Preps as 7 p.m., but usually all their varsity games are at 5. So we'll get a check on that before our broadcast on Wednesday, as throwing up the 2 and missing there is Daskell, and Bartoli will get fouled. It's like a hard fall to his knees there on the court, but he looks like he's okay. We'll see Goodhart check in momentarily here for the champions, and he checks in for Rosenkrantz. As for Parker, they head home to face off against Morgan Park Academy on December 2nd. That is a 4:30 p.m. tip-off as they get their conference slate started pretty early. It's a very interesting conference. It's basically just a lot of schools that don't have any affiliations, hence the name Independent School League, as Bartoli hits the front end of a 1-and-1. 17 fouls put Lane Tech into the bonus here. So they're 1 point away from hitting the 70-point mark, and looks like they're running the clock here. I thought it was 40, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's 30, so we are going to have a running clock here to close out the end of this contest. But as you're talking, the conference, that's kind of strange. It's Ladin, Northridge, Elgin Academy, Lake Forest Academy, Morgan Park Academy, Parker, Chicago University, and North Shore County Days. So you're going from some far south side Chicago schools, Morgan Park Academy, all the way up to Lake Forest in that conference. And actually should be some fun matchups. A couple of those teams that should have some decent seasons, as Tommy Stone will check in for the first time tonight. He becomes the last player who dressed for this game to check in. He comes in for Bartoli, and Lane will have the chance to get a lot of players playing time. Lane has been without 5 guys this week. Omar Bushalumfa, Jack Davis, Eris Mulosmani, Caden Buford, and Giuliano DeFranco all have not appeared in a matchup this week, as I believe Pepper will get called for the foul there, and we will see Daskell head to the line. Daskell was a pretty big part of this team last year, had double figures against Elgin Academy in one game. It's a pretty proficient scorer. Tonight, though, held scoreless. He can try to get his first points of the night on this second free throw. 3.5 minutes on the running clock here. 6:12 local time. It's going to end up being one of the quicker games we'll probably see all year for Lane Tech, as the ball bouncing off of Rosario and Pepper there. Lane leading by 32 here. Underneath the basket, they push it out. 3-ball from, Hughes decides not to shoot it. Instead, it's going to be Johnson with the 3-ball. He misses it, and Pepper grabs the rebound. It'll be Goodhart running the point right now. Goodhart, Rosario, and Labcon, all guys who we could probably see run the point on the court right now. Rosario thinks about the 3. Labcon's open, decides to drive instead, goes up for the 2, and a big block there by the sophomore Johnson. On the other side of things, he feeds the 3 on its way from Hughes. That's off the mark, but a nice rebound from Akeem Griffin. The ball kind of just fell into the forward's hands. And that will be team foul number 6 on Lane. Tommy Stone gets called for the foul. Didn't see where the contact was, but they will get underneath the basket. Lane's still 1 foul away from putting this team into bonus, and that will be the foul that sends them to the line. Rosario just a little too frantic on that steal attempt. So if there's one thing you want to clean up, critique from this game for Lane Tech, definitely the fouls. They had 10 in the first half, sent Parker into double bonus. They've had 7 in this second half with under 2 to play now. So 17 fouls from their players, as it's going to be an air ball there from Griffin. It's a 1-and-1, so they will not get he will not get the second shot. 1:45, clock still running here. Labcon crosses half court with the ball, pulls up 43, and nothing but nets. We've seen Labcon not take that many shots these last couple of games, but do not forget he is a very prolific three-point shooter, and he gets his second made basket of the night. He's up to 6 points here. 73-38, just over a minute to play here at Lane Tech. Lane's going to finish this tournament with a 5th place finish as Johnson pulls up for the 3, missed, and Lane might hold for the last minute. We'll see. Labcon still dribbling into a double team. They get to Rosario. He's open, pulls for 3, misses that, and Colonels will get at least one final shot at it. Johnson pulls for the quick 3, and now it's just back and forth three-point shootings from both of these squads. Rosario dribbles into the sideline there, and Parker will get it back. We will be staying on the air for at least a couple extra minutes here tonight as they're going to present the winners of all tournament for both of these squads. I have some guesses who it may be. Won't spoil, but based on how you guys have been watching this game, you probably too can guess who will be winning all tournament for both of these respective squads, as Labcon will dribble things out here. 13 seconds and counting, gives it to Goodhart. Still some tight defense from Parker on this last possession of the game, as Pepper gives it to Labcon, and that will bring us to the end of this 5th place game. Lane Tech pulls out a 73-38 win over the Francis Parker Colonels, paced by Lorenzo Aquino, who had 21 on the night. Some very impressive performances here tonight from Solibo, Williams, and Aquino. They were all over 15, I want to say, in scoring. I didn't get the final for Solibo and Williams, but very impressive performance from those two. And then Aquino, 1 missed 3 on the night. He made 5 or 6 of them. Very impressive shooting from the senior point guard here on this Friday night. Still time for you to get down here for Lane Tech for the 3rd place game between Jones and Notre Dame, or the championship, which was getting started either at 6 or 6:30. I wrote down somewhere here. That is a 6 o'clock game, so should have just gotten started if you want to head over to DePaul Prep for the DePaul versus Niles North game, which should actually end up being a pretty quality matchup right now. So they are waiting to give out the all-tournament awards here, and we'll try to send you down to the PA announcer for that one. So, to no one's surprise, Shahid Solibo and Peyton Pitts take home the top honors for their respective teams all tournament. Solibo with his first, probably not his last, all-tournament award of the season, and Pitts with impressive showing here tonight. He gets the all-tournament award for the Colonels, but that's just about going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from the Battle of the Bridge Thanksgiving Tournament. Big thanks to everyone who tuned into our coverage this week, and this is just the start. Still 20, 25 plus games to go. Going to be a fun year for Lane Tech, especially if they play like they did tonight, and we will talk with you again next Wednesday as the champions take on Bulls College Prep here at Lane Tech. That's either a 5 or a 7 p.m. for tip-off. But that's all the time we have here tonight. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving, a good Black Friday, and we'll talk to you again Wednesday. Your final score from Lane Gymnasium: Lane Tech champions 73, Francis Parker Colonels 38. My name's Alex Burstein. Good night.